The following program contains adult language, poor taste in jokes, racial slurs, political slurs, slants, and all sorts of things that, if you are sensitive and have a delicate constitution, you should probably go watch Teletubbies. You were warned.
I ain't drunk, I'm just drinking. But you're so high. Oh man, you know I ain't high. But you're so high. Yeah, well I just take a little sip every now and then. But you're so high. You all ought to be ashamed of yourself. Oh, come on now, you all don't feel like that.
Bam! Hey kids, welcome back. Been a while again, but things are warming up, things are getting better, and a little bit lax, a little bit easier going in this winter, so we're gonna get some quad stuff out and do that as well. But this one is another boat one. Sorry about your luck. I'm actually gonna try and do a quad video today as well, but this is part of one of the restoration boat jobs I'm doing. You guys might have seen the one where I did the patchwork, fixing the cowl of a Nitro tunnel hull RC boat. And I'm working on the hull of that right now. It's almost done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to clean up the engine. I'm going to show you a couple tricks for cleaning up a Nitro engine. This goes for any Nitro engine, but this one in particular happens to be, check that thing out. This is a circa 1980, I'm going to say 5 or 6, maybe earlier, engine. It's a K&B 3.5 Outboard. Now, these are really neat. I had one of these. I'm not a big fan of tunnel hull boats. They're okay, you know, but again, this is more of a nostalgia thing with me. Usually the boats I do are pretty fast. This one should be fast, but it's not going to be... It's probably going to be the slowest boat I own, but it's still going to be pretty quick. Because you don't put a tuned pipe on this unless you got the special lower unit. So it's a straight pipe exhaust going down. And it's just an outboard. This is not, I don't think, going to be a rebuild situation because we have pretty good compression. She feels pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're just going to clean this guy up a little bit. How this works, we got an old school metal, looks like a copper prop, I'm assuming. We got our prop, obviously. There's our water pickup tube. Pickup tube goes up into here, and then there's a little silicone tube, goes into the head, cools the head, spits it out this side. The throttle is a cable that gets attached here that's going to that dude. Yeah, pretty rough, pretty dirty. So I'm going to show you a couple of tricks. I might put down a different pad over Yoda. Maybe I won't. Yeah, I might put down cardboard or just take it off. But I'm going to show you guys how to clean up the aluminum. And we're going to take off the carb and probably block the cylinder intake so we don't get dirt in there. You can tell we're missing a couple bolts here. No big deal. So just out of curiosity, my guess is that this boat has not been run probably since the 90s, maybe the 80s. But I did have one just like, oh wow, just like this when I was a kid. We're talking kid. How old was I? I'm going to call it 87. I had this exact engine, only I had it on a Mach 1 fiber ABS tunnel hull, which is kind of cool. But so that's one of the reasons I picked this boat up. I got this boat, glow plug even works, look at that. I got this boat really cheap with the engine. I think I paid $100 for the whole thing, and it had some hull issues, as you guys saw in the last video, but nothing that couldn't be overcome fairly easily. So I'm going to go ahead and take off, well, let's see. We might pop the crank off first, okay? So what we're going to, not the crank, but the lower unit, because I want to clean up this lower unit, and I also want to grease the flex shaft that's going through here. So to take off the lower unit is these 4 bolts right here. Let's see if I got an Allen handy that'll work. Of course I don't. Okay. All right, so we take off these 4 bolts here, and we're going to pull this apart, take off this hose. We'll probably put a new water line on there just to be safe, and then I will pop these 5 screws out and we'll pull out the flex shaft. So bam, be right back. All right, when in doubt, just flip Yoda over. Never forget your roto twister. All right, so we got those 4 screws off. Oh, look at that, popped right off. So look at that. See, basically you just got It's just a standard engine, nothing fancy on that. And here is our lower unit. So we're going to go ahead and pop those 5 Phillips head out. And like I said, this thing's got decent compression. I'm not going to tear down the entire motor. I'm going to flush it real well with some nitro and some other little things. And because I think it's going to fire right up, and we'll just blow the carbon out, as they say, and do it that way. Because it seems to be in pretty good shape. So we're going to pop this apart, and this should split the halves. Oops. And get us to our cable, which we could probably pull out like that. Now, it is just squared on one side, squared on the other, and this one is dry as a bone. So it's a good thing we're doing this. What do you expect? Thing's 30 fucking years old. So, see if she comes apart. There we go. Oops, and this should separate right there. And sometimes what helps, if it seems a little gummed up, stick a screwdriver in there, and you could pry it like that. Or you can also pop it. We're probably going to have to take the prop shaft off. I can't remember. It's been 30 years. Yeah, I think so. Because I want to take that cooling line out of there too. Actually, I don't even think we have to. I do want to take this out. I don't even think we're going to bother taking this apart. But normally to take this apart, we would take off this right here. This collet should turn off and pull it apart, pop it out. So we're going to take a new piece of hose line. Ugh, that thing is nasty. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and shine this guy up real quick. Give it a good look. So what I'm going to use on that is a wire wheel and a Dremel tool. Let's see. Here's a nice big one. This is a copper brush. And then we've also got good old school steel. All right, either one will work. I'm just going to polish up that copper a little bit just to get the gum off. I'm not going to bother polishing it because this is going to green out quick again. We're going to take that existing line and we'll cut a new one. Hang on. Let's see, that should work. We're going to cut it to about there because this one's got some kinks. La-di-da, real scientific here. This is not rocket science. So I'm going to go ahead and polish this tube up, and that's going to be really about it for the cooling line. Okay, be right back. All right, so what we did, we took the wire wheel. Look at that, looks like gold. She's pretty. I did not focus as much. I did clean this off up here, but that's inside the engine. We're not even going to see that. And I like a little bit of goo on there because it'll help keep our line in place. So there we go. Our coolant line is done. The next thing we're going to do with this guy is, do I want to pull this off? Let's see how hard this is going to be to do. Yeah. Not too bad. I'm not even going to bother with that. What we're going to do with this guy now is we're going to polish it. Now here's a couple. Like I said, this engine's actually in really, really good shape for being as fucking old as it is. So that's why I'm not doing a complete teardown. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you using a wire wheel. I'm going to use a copper wheel first, and we're going to see how this thing shines up. Might take the steel wheel. Not bad. So that's what a copper wheel is going to do. Now, we've still got dirt on there. This is not polishing it yet. We're just cleaning it. Let's try a steel wheel and see if there's any difference. Yep. All right. steel wheel looks a lot better. Obviously, steel's a little bit tougher, so this is the copper or brass, whatever it is. So I'm going to go ahead and polish this lower case up. With just the wheel, and then I'm going to show you a trick for making it shiny, make it pretty. All right, so yeah, it's going to be pretty good. Look how gross this is, pretty nasty. So bam, be right back. All right, so we went over it with the steel, and it doesn't look too hateful. I might do a little bit better job right here, polished up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wipe her down with some acetone and see what she looks like. Then I might go back over it with this before we polish, but the acetone should be good enough. Just did a quickie face job on the prop there, no big deal. So we're going to polish that up a little bit better. I missed that. Doesn't look that great, but it will once we clean it up. Bam, be right back. Now, just to give you guys an idea, this is what we did right after the wire wheel, and that's after acetone. So it does clean up pretty damn good. So I'll go ahead and finish wiping this down and go to the next step. All right, so to show you what the difference is, that's the steel, that's the copper wheel. So we're going to do the other side with the copper wheel, then we're going to do a final clean with WD-40, and we will show you what it looks like. Be right back. And we're back. Hang on. All right, so after a little bit of elbow grease, here's what we got. Now, this is what we started off with. It's better. Is it perfect? No. I could go a little bit harder with it and get these little flavor stains out. This side looks just about perfect. That's just smuts I didn't get off with the soap. So basically what I did is I went over it first with the steel, then with copper, then steel, then copper again, with a little bit more pressure the second time. And then I cleaned it with WD-40, and then took it in the house and used Dawn and warm water and scrubbed it up. And that's all I did. I did not use polishing compound. I didn't use any of that stuff. You can, but again, this thing is going to be going in water. It's going to have nitro fuel all over it. I want it to look nice, but it doesn't have to look perfect, right? So, yeah, big difference. We're going to do similar to the engine. But we're not going to be soaking it in a sink of water, but we are going to re-lube all the bearings. We're going to soak it in WD-40, scrub it up real good with a toothbrush, blah, 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 and do the same thing and pop it back together. But first, where's my WD-40? Hang on. Professional would edit that out. Okay, our flex shaft, dry as a bone. So we're going to clean it up a little bit. WD-40. WD-40, this is not for lubricant. This is just to clean the old 1980 whatever the fuck grease off of it. Okay. Beautimous. Then we are going to grease it. So good enough for what we're going to do. All right, we're going to put this back in. That's got to come out that side right there. And then we're going to grease the shaft. So, a little bit of marine grease. This is the same shit. If you buy this off of Offshore Electrics or whatever, it's like $5. If you buy this off of Amazon, it's $5. It's the exact same shit. Check it out. Marine grease. Marine grease. Which one would you buy? So this one came with a boat, and this one is what I've used my entire life, pretty much same shit. This one's off Amazon, but you can get it at a marina, whatever. Ample supply of this. Good enough. Get my nice clean engine all doity. Slide it back in. Okay, now, one of the things that I also do is I have a syringe full of this grease, and I'm going to actually inject a little bit of it into that tube, have it on a hypodermic. We'll take it off that, and we're going to put that in there. Sorry about that, family interruption. So here's what we got. She came out good. Like I said, I did put the cooling tube back in. Looks relatively new and with new line. Blow through this after you get, there's an indentation right in the side of the casing here, so it gives you room for the tube. Blow on that thing, give it a good Bardwell, and make sure you did not kink that. That would be bad. I used Loctite, putting the screws back in. Highly recommend that. And I did do a quick polish on the bracket, not quite as detailed as this, but good enough. Also used marine grease on that. And I used my trusty syringe to actually inject grease into the tube. And there's a Teflon tube that the shaft rides into. And then we're going to put this in. You can't really get too much grease in these. And make sure it locks in. Beautiful. Okay, that is done. Aside from a little good of wipe down, I'll give it a good wipe down with some alcohol after, not the good alcohol, shit you use to rub stuff. I'll give it a good rub down after the whole thing's assembled. I still have to do this, which is the bracket mount. So we're going to move on to the engine because that's boring. So this is what the engine started out looking like, and that's what it looks like now. Big difference. So we're going to do this one a little bit different. I did plug the hole in there. I put this hose across here. Notice we're missing a couple bolt heads. Head bolts, sorry. Those, it came that way, no big deal. We're going to basically saturate the shit out of this with WD-40 and scrub it up with a toothbrush. And then we're going to see how good it looks or does not look. I will definitely polish the cone. I'm not sure if I'm going to polish this because now I have to put something in here as well, and then we'll have to flush that, put some tape over that as well. If I'm going to wire wheel this, I'm going to scrub it up first. I'm definitely going to wire wheel the head and this starter cone. The rest of it hopefully just cleans up good, and we won't have to fuck around with that. It probably won't look as shiny and new as the lower unit, but we'll give it a day in court. So with our trusty toothbrush, this is the wife's, and my WD-40, and we're going to go out there and scrub this bitch down. So be right back, see what she looks like. All right, so I scrubbed it up with WD-40. It didn't come out too bad. Got the gunk out of, like I said, just a toothbrush and WD-40. I saturated the whole engine, and it got great compression. Overstroke, obviously. We'll make sure we drain that before we ever start it, but that's going to be a while. But great compression, no leaks from the head. That's one of the ways I test that, is I basically open the crank. So you've got that intake slot right there. Squirt WD-40 in it, a fair amount. We're not turning this over electrically, just by hand. And then I crank it over, and you can feel the compression. And you can also see air bubbles if anything is going to leak or whatever. Also scrubbed out the bearing a little bit with some WD-40. We're going to properly lubricate it when it's all done. This is just the cleaning phase. So what I'm going to do, we got some of this ass crack stuff here that looks kind of gross. So I'm just going to take probably the copper wheel and just go over it real quick. We're not going to high polish anything. We might high polish the head and high polish the spinner. But aside from that, I'm not going to worry about the crankcase at all. I'm going to take a break from that and show you. My buddy Drew down in New Mexico sent me something a while back, and it was a really gross t-shirt. Well, actually, it was a brand new t-shirt, and I wanted to show you. I've been using it every day in the garage. Now, it looks like cum, but it's not. That is epoxy and grease and hydro dip schmutz and all this stuff. But this started out a Joshua Bardwell t-shirt. Joshua Bardwell is the know-it-all of MPV. I think it has a picture of his face on here somewhere. Doesn't it? Yeah, there it is. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and brush this up, polish it. First things first, though, what you want to do is we're going to plug up that hole there, and probably just cover this up. Just be careful. I'm not going to actually polish this plate, so it'll be okay. We're not making a ton of metal flake dust, but nonetheless, we want to plug up our carb intake, and we're going to plug up our exhaust port because schmutz can get in the exhaust port too. So I will go do that real quick. We'll see how she turns out. Alrighty, here we go. Have a drink. So she didn't turn out too bad. Is it perfect? No. Is it close? No. But it looks a damn sight better than it did before, right? So I like it. Feels really good. After you polish one of these things up, no, that's not even a polish, this is a clean. Once you clean one of these things up, it is so smooth. So our shaft end is going to go in there. I will polish up the transom and this steering unit separate. That's easy stuff. We're not going to mess with that. Waste your time. So here we go. We're going to put a little dabble of grease down in here. Make sure we're still hooked up, which we are. I'm also going to marine grease the bearing. Okay. And then take this off. Rotate it so she fits real pretty. Go ahead and, oh, come on. There we go. Make sure everybody fits. We're gonna have to cut, well, maybe not. Yeah, that line I made is too long, so we're going to snip it. Put it back in. Don't want that thing kinking up. There we go. Beautiful. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take some trusty Loctite and we're going to Loctite all these bolts back in. I cheat. I know it's wasteful, but you know what? Oh well. And I remembered at the witching hour that these are not metric screws. All of this shit is standard. And so I cannot replace those head bolts because all I've got's metric. Ain't that a bitch? So we'll make it work. That one's too long. And then with my grimy hands all over this nice, clean, pretty engine, I will give it another wipe down and she will be complete. So I want to put out a special thanks to Joshua Bardwell for making those t-shirts because they are great crud catchers. So if any of you guys get one, I think my buddy got it in one of those quad box fucking things that people get. And he sent it to me as a gag. He's like, this will piss off JJ, but actually I love it. So thank you, Josh. It's a great crap catcher, just like your channel. So here we go. And I am going to get back into quads. I've got a ton of boat projects to do. And actually I have a boat project from Droid 440, a jet boat that he sent me forever ago. I told him I'd work on, and I have not forgotten, brother. I will get that done. So there's that. Let's pop our carb on. Throttle was on the right, if I remember right. Bada bing. I did clean up the carb. I will probably clean it better once we get to installation and running. Or we get close to it. And then that stuff I will clean up in a bit. Grab my crud catcher Bardwell shirt. There's probably some guys that say, I love Bardwell. I can't believe you wasted that shirt. You know, whatever. Okay. So, I will pop up a picture of a before and after of what this looks like. Like I said, is it perfect? No. But it is damn better. Look at that. That's pretty. I like it. All right, kids. Kind of interesting. A lot of people don't get to see a old school Nitro outboard. It's going to be neat. And the boat is not real far from being done, and I'll do a build overview or a rebuild overview of that boat as well. It's turning out pretty cool. So anyway, kids, till next time, keep shining side up. Later.